Welcome back to Mastering MHA, MBA, and to Chapter 6, Part 3. In Part 2, we covered the three political systems. Now, the question a manager actually cares about: does the way a country is governed determine how prosperous it becomes? And what kind of economy does each political system produce? Start with the concept. National governance refers to the system of policies and processes by which nations are governed. It reflects the manner in which public institutions develop laws and regulations, conduct public affairs, and manage public resources. It is not a vague idea. National governance is assessed on six specific variables: public accountability, political stability and the absence of violence, government effectiveness, regulatory quality, rule of law, and control of corruption. And the relationship with prosperity is striking. As the quality of national governance rises, so does economic prosperity, measured as per capita GDP, which means higher living standards for citizens. The two ends of that line are easy to name. Nations with the highest living standards, such as Canada, Ireland, and Singapore, also tend to have the highest quality national governance. Countries with the lowest living standards, such as North Korea, Pakistan, and Venezuela, tend to score lowest on governance. For a firm choosing a market, this is one of the most useful correlations in international business. Governance quality is a leading indicator not just of ethics or stability, but of the size and sophistication of the market you're entering. National governance connects to two kinds of freedom. The first is political freedom. It means free and fair elections, the right to form political parties, fair electoral laws, and the existence of a parliament or other legislative body. Political freedom also means freedom from domination by the military, by foreign powers, or by religious hierarchies, and self-determination for cultural, ethnic, and religious minorities. The second is economic freedom, and this one bears directly on business. It concerns the extent of government interference in business, the strictness of the regulatory environment, and the ease with which commercial activity is carried out according to market forces. Economic freedom does not appear on its own. It flourishes when governments actively support the institutions necessary for it, above all, freely operating markets and the rule of law. Freedom here is something a state builds, not something it merely refrains from blocking. Now, the link between political and economic systems. Each political system tends to be associated with a particular type of economy. Generally speaking, authoritarianism goes with command economies, democracy with market economies, and socialism with mixed economies. Let us take those three in turn. First, the command economy, also known as a centrally planned economy. It makes the state the dominant force in the production and distribution of goods and services. Central planners make resource allocation decisions, and the state owns major sectors of the economy. The weakness is structural. A sizable bureaucracy thrives, and central planning tends to be less efficient than market forces at synchronizing supply and demand. Goods shortages have been so common in Venezuela that people often wait in line for hours to buy basic necessities such as sugar and bread. China and Russia continue to exhibit some characteristics of command economies, but the system as a whole is gradually dying out, being replaced by market economies and mixed economies. Second, the market economy. Here, market forces, the interaction of supply and demand, determine prices. Government intervention in the marketplace is limited, and economic decisions are left to individuals and firms. Market economies are closely associated with capitalism, in which the means of production are privately owned and operated. Participants typically exhibit a market-oriented mentality and an entrepreneurial spirit. The task of the state in a market economy is narrow but essential. Establish a legal system that protects private property and contractual agreements. The government may still intervene to address the inequalities that market economies sometimes produce. Third, the mixed economy, which exhibits features of both. It combines state intervention and market mechanisms for organizing production and distribution. Most industries are under private ownership, and entrepreneurs freely establish, own, and operate corporations. But government also controls certain functions such as pension programs, labor regulation, minimum wage levels, and environmental regulation. State-owned enterprises operate in key sectors such as transportation, telecommunications, and energy. France is the clearest example. The government there partly owns dozens of companies, mainly in transportation, communication, and energy, including stakes in Peugeot and Renault. In Germany, Japan, Norway, Singapore, and Sweden, government often works closely with business and labor groups to determine industrial policy, regulate wage rates, and provide subsidies to specific industries. And the state's share of the economy keeps rising. In the United States, combined government spending increased from about 27% of GDP in 1960 to roughly 40% today, and is expected to reach 50% by 2038. In Belgium, Denmark, France, Greece, and several other European countries, annual government spending now exceeds 50% of GDP. Over the past century, the number of mixed economies rose sharply, and with it, government involvement in economic matters. Through regulations covering workplace safety, minimum wages, pension benefits, and environmental protection. Here is where the governance question sits today. As of 2026, more than 100 countries have adopted some form of data sovereignty or localization requirement, with one count putting it at 154 separate measures across 66 countries. Regulatory quality, one of the six governance variables, is no longer just about how much a government regulates. It is about whether its rules can coexist with anyone else's. Let us recap part 3. National governance is measured on six variables and tracks closely with per capita prosperity. It connects to political freedom and to economic freedom. And each political system produces an economic system. Command, market, or mixed, with mixed economies now the global norm. This builds on our chapter notes from Cavus-Gill, Knight and Riesenberger's International Business, The New Realities, on National Governance and Economic Systems, updated with 2026 data on the spread of data sovereignty rules. We have finished the political half of this chapter. In part 4, we turn to the legal half. The four legal systems that govern the world's contracts and property, and why the same signed agreement means different things in Paris and in Chicago. If this is helping, subscribe and we will see you there.